All right. Hello, listeners. This is Rhonda Hall and Jeoffrey Hutcherson. And I had the amazing synchronistic, divinely ordered blessing of meeting Jeoffrey on a Kyle Cease call. And we chose at that point to be what Kyle Cease calls Kylego partners. So if you're interested in that, I'll let you go to kylecease.com. But the cool thing is that Jeoffrey and I were just talking about what our common ground is and how many ways even though our meeting seemed so arbitrary, how there were so many synchronicities and so much common ground between us. So I know that Jeoffrey is a writer. He's written Transformative New Thoughts, or TNT, which I love. And that's another piece of the common ground between us, is that you're a wordsmith. Words have an energy to them. And so whether it's in titles, or we were talking about calligraphy or doing creative lettering, that's another piece of common ground between us, that way you can capture the energy of letters. So you've used that in Transformative New Thoughts, or TNT, right? And Hot Chocolate Happiness. And again, that image, those few words captured the image. And it's also another intersection of our common ground is that I wrote a book called Drive Yourself Happy. So clearly to the two of us, happiness is really a foundational piece. And I always think of peace as P-E-A-C-E or P-I-E-C-E, The other things I know about you, Jeoffrey, are that you're a massage therapist, sound healer, former international online talk show co-host, and you just disappeared. Are you back? Okay. Hopefully.
Got you back.
Let's see. I'm hoping that the recording is still going.
I'm seeing it's still going on my end.
Oh, great. All right.
I'm seeing it still on my end.
Great. So let's just assume it is.
Yep.
Inspirational humorist. And another way that you described yourself that I loved is called an artist of life. I've talked about my life as going from womb to tomb, because I started out at childbirth education. As my kids grew, I became a teacher. Then I taught psychology. I worked with pregnant and parenting teens in between, started teaching at community college level, and then went on to psychology, and then have done a lot of death doula work. So my life has taken me from womb to tomb, and I consider that to be kind of the artist of life, where you paint the brush strokes so that other people can join you on the journey. So, and you are indeed a force of nature. So now that I've said who I know you are in terms of what you do, force of nature seems to describe who you are. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, Jeoffrey?
There we go. I lost your audio for a few seconds there.
Well,
that's okay.
Yeah, we were also talking about how amazing life is, even though we have technology that has all of these glitches and trying to keep a constant feed. It's really amazing that you can be in Wisconsin, and I can be here in Washington, and we're able to see one another.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and look at that true connection to yourself and to life. That's the one thing that is a constant. And to allow yourself to always be, like for me, this is not the first time I've done something like this and had these types of technical difficulties. And it's totally fine, because these technical difficulties are happening, and I don't have to let them throw off my center, because they're happening. I'm connected to me, and so whatever I'm seeing and observing is something that's just myself. Something is wrong with my life just because this is something that's outside of me. rather than knowing that I'm connected with me here first. And now we are using technology to connect to ourselves as you are in Washington, D.C. And just again, the beauty of that moment, the beauty of that space of having that true connectedness no matter what's happening.
Yeah.
Because I've lived my life from times where I wasn't as you see me before you right now, being so caught up in what was going on and placing my value on what was happening in my life. I was a bad person because this was happening. I was a bad person because I didn't have the things that I wanted, but I hadn't set myself up to get either. Something must be wrong with me.
Right.
Not realizing what it took to create and have just that level of peace, of receiving, of worthiness, all of that stuff. I didn't have at the time, so I was kicking my butt because I wasn't ready.
Right.
Right. And the only ready that we ever need to be or have to be, if it's going to be those two words, is just having to love yourself, being at peace right here, right now, and not letting anything mess up your high, if you will.
So
there is and
explain how. And it could have happened in an instant, or it could have been a process. But how did you come to that awareness of who you were when you let all of the outer circumstance drive you, or drive the quality of your life by the outer circumstances, compared to when you can hold that awareness, or you live it as your lifestyle now of holding that awareness that, whether it's the glitch in our connection online, or, as soon as we started to talk, I can hear the neighbors next door with the weed whacker, cleaning, like all of those outer things. How is it that you stay centered amidst that, rather than letting that be what drives you?
That became more of my natural being. It's like once you learn it, once you understand something, okay, great, I got the understanding. It no longer became a belief. The moment I understood it and started being it, then it became a knowing. Your beliefs can change in a heartbeat because your beliefs are something that you haven't had a direct experience yet with. Your knowings, that doesn't change because your knowing is your direct experience of that. So I had my first knowing of that belief of, wait, I can control how I feel. I can control how I act. And then it just became more of that beingness, because as I'm still going about this reality and seeing how we're interacting with other human beings. Yeah, you want to belong. Yeah, you want to be a part of the group. And so, yeah, there are those moments of where we have those fluctuations of where we are looking outside of ourselves for love, acceptance, and approval. But once you stop doing that, then it becomes, again, now that you're truly connected to you, well, then now it's how are you connecting with others?
Right. So how, for people who don't know how to cross that bridge, for people who are still in the yeah buts, this is what's real, rather than seeing that love and present moment is what's real. And if you really look in the present moment, very few times
how are you?
So
well, what's happening there at that point? That was this was the realization from just described, and because again it was directed towards me, and in my quietness I heard, Jeoffrey, your life is going to come down to 4 words: if you say so. Shit.
yeah.
If I say so. So what happened? So anytime when I was listening to anyone giving me the truth of I am an unlimited being, I am ultimate power, I am blah, 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 all of that self-empowering stuff, when somebody was telling me that and telling me that truth, but yet I'm sitting there limiting by my story going, well, that's not true, but yeah, but, but no, you don't know my story. You know, so that was 4 words. Convince someone or fight another personal belief system. I want you to recognize what you're saying, because you are the ultimate power. And I'm just going to convince you of that. I could say you are a phenomenal, unlimited being, and you are surrounded by wealth and abundance if you choose to say so and see fit. But if you go, Jeffrey, that's just not how it is for me. Okay, but that's how powerful you are.
Right.
Because you said so. And it's that point of understanding that when you make that choice, you go, yeah, I'm in charge. And then you go, shit, I'm in charge.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So that's where it came. That's where it came for me. And so if someone is still trying to, again, stable themselves, because again, you're walking differently. And you know what? I would rather to continue to sometimes stumble through my dream, through living my dream, than to walk perfectly in someone else's.
Right.
And my acronym for DREAM is your direct reality expressed and manifesting. It's not a trick question. It's not a foo-foo-y statement. When I say I'm living my dream, I look at what's right in front of me, because that's my direct reality expressing itself and manifesting. And it's a constant change. I'm living my dream because I get to pick and choose what's in my life right now. And because I get to accept everything that's going on, then things can change. And then I can catch myself when I'm in resistance to what might be going on. Because as I'm speaking with you right now, I'm very conscious of the point of, as I'm speaking with you, I'm coming from my heart and I'm coming from this present moment. As I'm choosing to be right here, right now, not some past story of how Jeff has been in the past, not Jeff, the author of 2 books, not Jeff, no, Jeff, fully Jeff free, right in front of you.
Right. Jeff free. That's very
Jeff free.
Yeah.
So that is who I am in front of you right now, and really taking into account of that too, as the rest of your life unfolds.
Yeah, I love the word responsibility. It always reminds me that it's my ability to respond. And in that is a choice point.
Yep.
It's not this burden heavy reflecting on the past. Oh, I'm going to do it wrong. Or it has to be done that way. It's no, in this moment, it's my responsibility, my ability to respond whatever is before me. And just what is your thing of if you say so, if I say so,
if you say so.
Yeah. So it really is that choice point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing can override our power to choose. I don't care how you conditioned, nothing has the power to override your power of choice right here and right now. So now conditions be damned, makes no difference, how, and again, really recognizing that when you are responding from a place of possibility, from a place of enthusiasm, well, that's your present moment. That can be your pure now if you want. But also knowing that if you're responding from a place of limitation, well, again, that's your old story kicking in. That's your old story of how you thought you used to be or how you think you should be as compared to being who you want to be. It doesn't have to take a lot of work for us to allow ourselves to be how we've always wanted to be.
Or when we've always been, we've just forgotten,
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I was exploring life and hanging around all of these different teachers and stuff like that, as I was figuring out the answers within me, it was, wow. It's like, how can we answer the questions that we are asking? Because understanding the question, the formulation of how I put a question together, the question defines the belief system that I had that forms the question. When I understand the belief system that formed the question, there's my answer. How can I be more fruitful and loving in my life? You must have a limiting thought that says your life can't be fruitful and you don't have enough love.
Right.
How can I grow more faster? You must think you're not good enough right here, right now, because if you did know that you were good enough right here, right now, you'd know that you're in a constant state of evolution and you're fine as you are.
I call that the gift of opposites.
Yeah.
It's that ability, and I'm sure you've heard at some point along the way that those 10 letters of IAMNOWHERE. When you look at those, IAMNOWHERE, you can either see it as I am nowhere or I am now here. And it's just a matter of where you put the spaces in those 10 words. And that's nobody else's choices but our own. And it does take, for me anyway, it is that occasional, sometimes you have to develop that muscle.
Sure.
And often that gift has been brought to me by weathering something really challenging, whether it's a loss or feeling like I've hurt someone unintentionally, or it's like, no, you have this choice of you are now here or you're nowhere, or you're just that jumble of 10 letters and you can't figure out where to put the spaces. So
right. I mean, this is so interesting for me because both of the books that I wrote back in 2009, the information of how I receive them has come so commonplace now, so to hear all of these, wonderful teachers, because again, I've been all over the charts for as far as listening to people and just finding all of those common roads and seeing how things work. Right. And so my playing with words and really seeing, like, I even taken the word impossible. I've taken, impossible. Yeah. I've taken that, wrote about it in my book and everything. And it was just phenomenal when I had that realization, but just continuing to put it out there and looking how it's in the consciousness now. It's been put out there enough so that now it's becoming more and more commonplace. There is such a rush on things happening so fast. And quite honestly, it's not the fact that things are happening fast. Things are always happening at the pace that they're happening. It's just the fact that we have more access to all of these different things that take our attention and that we can give our energy to, as compared to when we are disconnected from all of that projected negativity, when we're sitting and basking in our own inner peace,
right?
Our inner sense. That's another way that I've been playing with innocence. You must have the innocence of a child to see the kingdom of heaven, wherever that quote came from. But when I heard it, I heard inner sense, not innocence. I was like, oh, inner sense, because for me, there was a point in my life where, I was an innocent child for a time until someone trained me out of that. Right. But then it became that conscious choice to be back into my inner sense.
Yeah.
To choose innocence.
And I know. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally trusting it and saying that life is doing what it does, but I'm not going to let that mess up my high, if you will.
Right.
I would play with it and be like, I'm talking to people and it's like, life is this delicious type of place that we're in right now. It's like, life is this vast kitchen and we have all of the ingredients in this kitchen. Now understand, we don't have to have every ingredient in every recipe.
Right.
I'm showing you how I make my chili. Please get your thumb out my chili. Because this is how I make my chili. Don't try to make my chili into your chili. Take your thumb out of my chili, and then we can enjoy the food together. But it's like, it is so vast. It is so, deep in that aspect. And, we've had that experience of living life and things have to be in harmony, meaning that harmony means the same.
Yeah.
Like harmony means coming together. There's that other part too, where harmony means separating.
Right.
Where harmony means uniqueness, because you and I are human beings, because we are of different ages and personalities and life experience that we brought to this planet, that doesn't mean that we are so different that we can understand each other. Point blank. It's like the only difference between you and I are sexual organs. Other than that, it's just circumstantial evidence of where we grew up, what our life experiences are. We have more things in common than we ever do for as far as being different. And again, the difference is our sexual organs. That's it. Other than that, we are the same.
Right.
So
And
we can have
it's
that type of harmony.
to me how uh, uh, especially now when we seem to be experiencing so much divisiveness,
Yeah.
I have noticed how initially it took me to that place of despair. Then it almost took me to a place of humor in order to, and then it's all about focus. Like, no, where, even though things can appear very unstable, what I notice and feel in the very core of my being is true, that the old stories are just dropping away. So it's through looking at things with fresh eyes, with it from a different perspective. It's where it, play on words, but it's either you're going to insight, INCITE, like you're going to insight and feel the separateness and create the divisiveness, or insight, inner sight, intuitive, looking at it from the inside out and living it from that place. And to me, when you kind of create this arsenal of tools in words, just those simple one or two words, or seeing words differently, it reminds me to see life differently and see how we live in a world of paradox, where if you didn't have the top to a table, you wouldn't have the bottom to the table. If you didn't have dark, you wouldn't appreciate the light. And celebrating that rather than looking at it as an inconvenience, or like it's got to stop in order for me to be happy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what you're seeing there is the general human behavior of free association. And what I mean by free association is that I'll explain it to you this way. A simple Buddhist technique for as far as how do you have no judgment? Well, that's 3 simple steps. Okay, so again, the first step into having no judgment is to just accept what you're seeing. Your eyes are open, and like I was saying before, you are accepting what you are seeing. Now, number 2, you don't create a story on what you are seeing, on what you are observing. Now, if you can just see things as they are, accept them as they are, you don't create a story on what you are seeing, then no judgment is a walk in the park. But now that you understand it, now you have to live it. Now you have to do it. And that's where you have that piece of, here's how you can live a life with no judgment.
right.
But you're seeing that free association that we were conditioned into. Because this happened to me, this must mean. Because this person did this to me, this must mean. We are attaching negative emotions or negative feelings to our life experiences just because we are witnessing something that's happening.
Right.
That's free association. It's not true. That's just what you're doing. That's what we're seeing in that moment.
Yeah.
And really recognizing how we are creating our life, and we can change, how we are creating it, how we are expressing it. It's not wrong. I'm not making anything that you and I have ever done wrong in our life. It's the fact of, do you recognize what you were doing? Do you recognize and accept what you did? Okay, great. Moving on. Next giggle.
Right.
Living my life one giggle to the next.
Right.
And to give myself the peace of being able to do that, because there were so many tears in my life at one point. And not like tears are bad, but it was because I was hurting so much.
Yeah.
And it hurt too much to be that guy.
Yeah.
And to love myself even more, I decided to make some changes to do that.
Well,
and
so often,
so now when I'm crying tears, it's,
yeah. So I can remember that same thing where when you are in those times of not having that insight and operating where the pain is controlling you rather than the pain is offering you a gift or offering you an invitation. When you haven't received the gift that it's bringing you,
Right.
you're on the shore trying to change everything out on the shore so that it ripples in and eventually you can get centered. And it shifted for me when I realized that when the droplet hits the water, the ripple goes, or the stone or whatever, when it hits the water, the ripple doesn't go from the shore to the point of entry, it goes from the point of entry out. So the
Mm-hmm.
more I can ride that wave of just by
Yeah.
being who I am, that even when it's painful, I can stand in a place of power with it, because I'm
Yeah.
assuming that embedded in there's a miracle in the mess. There is a plus to every minus. There is a chaos in the calm. I can be the eye of the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's remarkable that you offer that insight, that awareness in your life through so many avenues, you know, through your writing, through your speaking, through your massage therapy, and just
Mm-hmm.
bringing that sense of humor to everything you do. And to me, that's what a light bearer is. You know, that's what will change the world. Um,
Oh yeah, I thank you for that. And again, it's true. It's true in the sense of, we all, who is it that you choose to be?
right.
Let who you are show up in every avenue of your life. It wasn't I remember one lesson in particular where I learned, as it was my first to revolve around teaching people about the chakra system. And I just weaved in how it was going to correlate with my new philosophies with my first book. Now, it was a 4-part class, and I told people, I was like, okay, we're in the first class, and that's great. We're getting the introduction, but by the time we get to the 4th class, that's when life is really going to change. That's going to be the most powerful class. We're going to have the biggest transformation. So progressively through that 4-week class, people started disappearing. And on the 4th class, nobody showed up.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting there, and I was sitting there all set up, ready to go, waiting for people to be there, and nobody was there.
Uh-huh.
And then the negative hamster wheel started running. And in the midst of all of that, and again, just being, just telling you flat out how I was experiencing the moment, I was in this huge conference room, and there were all of these chairs that were there. And in the moment of my crying, then it suddenly felt like the room was full, standing room only, like there were people in the chairs, like there were
Right.
people fighting, pushing to get into the doorway to be in the room with me.
Yeah.
And the lesson that I pulled from that, it wasn't the fact that other people didn't show up. What was important was that I showed up.
Right.
I showed up to be who I wanted to be in that moment, in that place,
Yeah.
regardless of the outside experiences. And so that moment was for me to recognize that it was something that was happening within me, within my life, and was for my empowerment, knowing that it came from me and it wasn't because of other people showing up. It's nice when they do. It is because again, we can have that connection with ourselves, because I'm happy by myself, but I'm also happy with other people too. And if you show up and you want to play with me too and you want to be happy, oh, hell yeah, we're going to have more fun, because now we've got happiness compounded. But
well,
it was
I am you and you are me, and we are all together. So whether you're standing there by yourself or whether
right.
the room is full.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was that moment of understanding.
Well,
that it was important that I show up. And,
Jeffrey,
you know, in every aspect of your life,
I
you
am,
show up.
yeah. Well, I am really, really grateful for your willingness to show up and your willingness to share your vulnerability, because so many people are afraid to. So you're modeling that being vulnerable is a strength. Um, and so I just want to make sure that everybody knows how to find you so that they can work and play with you in a variety of ways. So how can the listeners best reach you?
Okay, you guys can catch me on my website. That is JeoffreyHutcherson.com. JeoffreyHutcherson.com. And you can reach me email-wise as happy@JeoffreyHutcherson.com.
Awesome. Awesome. And likewise, our listeners can reach me at Rhonda, that's RHONDA, Hull, HULL.com. So Jeoffrey, I think we're pretty damn blessed to play together. I'm just
Yeah,
really
we are.
grateful. So hang on for a minute after our call, and I'm really grateful that we could share this time together, despite the weed whacker next door and the glitch in and out, because we're bouncing off of the sun between, so all is good.
Right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Till next time.
Yeah.
In